Hello and welcome. Today's lesson is going to be about factoring trinomials. But before that, let's review this problem here where I'm multiplying a binomial times a binomial. Basically, I take the first term and I multiply by each term on the second parenthesis. And I take this term and multiply by each term on the second parenthesis. So this would be 3x times 4x equals 12x squared. Then I'll do 3x times 2 equals 6x. And then negative 7 times 4 is negative 28x. And negative 7 times 2 is negative 14. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to combine each term. So this would be 12x squared minus 14x. And then minus 22x. Bring down the negative 14. And that's our answer right there. Now, so basically we started two binomials and we ended up with one trinomial. Today, we're going to do the opposite. We're going to start with a trinomial, and then we're going to do something called factorization or factoring, and we're going to end up with the two binomials that multiply, give us the trinomial. So let's take a look. The lesson is factoring trinomials. Here we have a trinomial, so what we're going to do is we're going to take the first term, and we're going to multiply by the second term, and that's going to give us 20. Once we do that, we create a list of numbers that gives us 20. So 1 and 20, 2 and 10, 4 and 5. And then after 4 comes 5, and 5 is already in the list, so we stop the list right there. One thing you can do with the calculator is we can produce that list by writing y equals, we write the number that we got, 20, divided by x. Then we're going to create a table. And once you have your table, going to click on the number 2 there and start pressing enter. And the calculator automatically creates the next numbers. Right there you can see we have 1 and 20, 2 and 10. Then we skip the 3 because 3 you get a decimal. Then we have 4 and 5, and then we stop at 5 because 5 is already on the list. So that's a quick way to use the calculator to produce the list. Once you have that list, you're going to look at the number in the middle. The number in the middle is 12, so you're going to look at this pair of numbers, and you're going to select the pairs of numbers that adding or subtracting gives us that middle term, which is 12. So let's say 20 minus 1 is 19, and 20 plus 1 is 21, so that does not give me 12. The next one is 10 plus 2 is 12, so this one gives me 12. So let's put a little sign right there. That's a good candidate. And then 5 plus 4 is 9, and 5 minus 4 is 1. That does not give me 12. So the only one that gives me 12 is 2 plus and 10. So now we're going to look at the sign. The sign here is positive. So we're going to put a positive on the biggest digit here, that is 10. Now we're going to ask for these two numbers to give me 12. Would the 2 have to be positive or negative? Well, in this case, we have to be positive because positive 2 plus 10 gives us positive 12. Now, final check is this sign right here. But before that, we need to remember our rules of multiplication of signs. So positive times a positive equals a positive times a negative equals a negative times a positive equals a negative, and then a negative times a negative equals a positive. So with that in mind, let's check. A positive times a positive is supposed to give me a positive, and I do have a positive, so that means this works. So we're going to have to put a circle there because these are the two numbers I'm going to use. Basically, I'm going to bring down the 4x squared. I'm going to rewrite 12 using these two numbers, positive 2x and positive 10x. Then I'm going to bring down the 5. And now that I have that, I'm going to pair these numbers into pairs. And I'm going to look at each pair and asking myself, what number is the biggest number that divides 4 and 2? In this case, it would be 2. And then looking at the x's, I want to try to factor out. I'm trying to take out an x. So I'm going to take an x from each term. I can only take out one x because this one has 2 and this one has 1. So the smallest number is 1. So that's how much I'm going to take it out. So 4 divided by 2 is 2. I had 2 x's. 1 is taken out. 1 remains. 2 divided by 2 is 1. I had 1 x. They take away 1 x, so 0 is left. Bring down the positive. Then ask yourself, what is the biggest number goes into 10 and 5? Or which is the biggest number that divides 10 and 5? That would be 5. In this case here, I cannot take it out an x because the 5 does not have an x. So that means I can only factor out a 5. So 10x divided by 5 is 2x. And 5 divided by 5 is 1. Now I look at each term here. And I open 2 sets of parentheses. On the first set, I write what do they have in common? They have in common 2x plus 1. Entonces, so then we can remove this. And then what's left if I remove what they have in common? So this would be 2x plus 5. So there we go. That's going to be my answer. Okay, please notice that if you're having troubles figuring out what's the biggest number that goes into 4 and 2 or 10 and 5, know that the calculator has a special function. All you have to do is click Function. You click on Miscellaneous, and you'll be able to see GCD. And I forgot to get out of the table. So let's go ahead and scroll down. Click here, click Function, GCD. And let's say we're going to do 4 and 2. So let's do 4, 2. And if you notice, it gives us the 2 there that we took out. Let's try 10 and 5. So let's do GCD 10, 5. And that tells us that the biggest number that divides 10 and 5 is 5. Also, you don't have to write this down, but let me just demonstrate. Let's say this is our answer, right? And let's check if this answer is correct. What can I do to check? I copy it again, and now I'm going to multiply and see if I get the original problem. Basically, let's see if when I multiply, I get this original problem that we started with. So let's multiply and multiply over here. So this would be 4x squared, and 2x times 5 is 10x. And 1 times 2 is 2x. And 1 times 5 is 5. Then I'm going to combine these two. So that means I'm going to get 4x squared plus 12x plus the 5. And basically, I did get the right answer because I got the original problem. So that means this is correct. Notice that you don't have to do this all the time, but if you like to check, especially if it's a test, you can just multiply your answer to see if you got the right answer. Very well. Let's go ahead and do the next problem. Remember, you're going to take the first term and multiply by the last term. So let's do that. 12 times 2 equals 24. Once you got that answer, you want to make a list of numbers that multiply gives us 24, and we can use the calculator by clicking y equals 24, and then we're going to divide by x, and we press enter, we press the wheel, press the calendar here, and press enter, 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 enter. That produces our list. And you can press enter as many times as you want, but I think 10 should be enough. So let's see. The list starts with 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 3 and 8, 4 and 6. Now notice right here, 5 gives you a decimal, so you skip the 5, and the next one is 6. 6 already on the list, so that means you stop there. And now we're going to look at the middle term. Middle term is 10. We look at this list of numbers and we see that 12 and 2 gives us 10 when we subtract. 12 minus 2 is 10. And we also get 10 with 6 and 4 because if we add 6 and 4, we get 10. So Now let's look at the sign negative. So that means this is negative and this is negative. And now you need to ask yourself, if 12 is negative, what does the sign of 2 have to be to give me negative 10? So in this case, it would be a positive. And on the negative 6, what's the sign of 4 have to be to give me negative 10? Would have to be a negative. Now, final check is this last sign over here is positive. So let's see, negative times a positive gives me a negative, and I want a positive, so that's wrong. A negative times a negative give me a positive, and that matches that positive there. So that means this is going to be my numbers. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to write 12x squared minus 4x minus 6x, and we're going to bring down the 2. So now we're going to compare the numbers. In the first pair, I have 12 and 4. So let's come over here to the calculator and use our function GCD. And click GCD. 12 comma 4 will be 4. And then, can I factor out an x? Yes, I can. 12 divided by 4 is 3. I had 2 x's. Take away 1 x is x. Negative 4 divided by 4 is negative 1. I had 1 x. 1 was taken away. None is left. Bring down the negative. What is the biggest one that goes into 6 and 2? So let's click on GCD. 6 comma 2. And we got a 2. So we write 2. 6x divided by negative 2 is 3x. 2 divided by negative 2 is negative 1. Now we look at this as a term. So first parenthesis, what do they have in common? 3x minus 1. And if I remove them, what is left is 4x minus 2. So there we go. That's our answer for the second one. All right, let's do the next one. We're going to take the first time, multiply by the third term. So it'll be 35 times 4. 35 times 4 is 140. So now we need to come up with the list. So we come over here and we click right here and press y equals 140 divided by x. And go ahead and press enter. Okay, and we start with 1. So 1 and 140, 2 and 70, 4 and 35, 5 and 28, 7 and 20, and then we get 10 and 14. And after 10 is 14. 14 is already there, so we know we're done. Look at the middle term. The middle term is 4. So we'll look for a pair of numbers that give us 4 if we add and subtract, and the only thing is 10 and 14. And we see that the sign here is negative, so that means the 14 is negative. And to give us 4, or negative 4, the 10 has to be positive. And then final check is this sign right here. This sign is positive, but a negative times a positive is a negative, does not give me a positive, so that means this fails. And I have no other pair that gives me 4, so that means we're going to write prime, which means this cannot be factored. Let's go on to the next problem. Next problem, we're going to multiply 12 times 5, and 12 times 5 is 16. And we're going to produce a list that gives us 60. So let's go over here and click y equals 60 divided by x. Click the wheel, the table, press enter many times. So then we write 1 and 60, 2 and 30, 3 and 20, 4 and 15, 5 and 12, 6 and 10. So now we're going to look at the middle number in the middle. The number in the middle is 17. So we're looking for a pair of numbers that give us 17. So in this case, it would be 5 and 12 and 3 and 20. And we'll look at the sign. Sign is positive. So that means 20 is positive and 12 is positive. And in order to give me 17, the 3 here has to be negative, and the 5 here has to be positive. Final check is the sign over here. A positive times a negative does give me a negative, so this is correct. And a positive times a positive does not give me a negative, so that means this candidate fails. So they for sure, then this would be 12x squared. And then I'm going to use negative 3x plus 20x. Then I'm going to bring down the negative 5. And then we're going to pair them. Now you're going to use the calculator for the GCD. So click Functions, Miscellaneous GCD, 12, 3. This is 3. So that means I can factor out a 3. Also can factor out an x. And then 12 divided by 3 is 4. I had 2 x's, 1 is removed, so that means 1 is left. Negative 3 divided by 3 is negative 1. I had 1x, 1 is removed, none is remains. Bring down the positive. What is the biggest number? Goes in 20 and 5. You click on GCD and you write 20 and 5, 5, and gives you 5. So then you write 5, and then 20 divided by 5 is 4x, and then negative 5 divided by 5 is negative 1. Okay, so then you put a line here, and a line there. And the first parenthesis is what repeats, where x minus 1 is what repeats. And then if you remove that, then you're left with 3x plus 5. And that's our answer. So now what you're going to do is you're going to try the 2 practice problems. So go ahead and stop the video and try these 2 problems. And then when you come back, you can check your answers. Welcome back. These are the answer for problem number 1 and 2 of the practice problems. Please notice that that's what I got for the answer. On the second one, notice that I can write 2y minus 1 equals 1y plus 6. The 1 can be invisible. Also notice that if it's a multiple choice type of problem, the answer could come like in this order or in this order. And also the 1 could be invisible or visible. I hope this video was helpful. Thank you very much for your time and have a great day. Bye-bye.